Daily Faceoff Hockey Insider Frank Saravalli here with some instant reaction to the big NHL news on Monday. The third coaching change of the 2023-24 NHL season already. Dean Evason out in Minnesota, being replaced by John Hynes. And on the one hand, I'm pretty surprised by the news because I was just in Sweden with the Minnesota Wild just 10 days ago talking to GM Bill Guerin, and he professed quite clearly that he thought that Dean Evason is a good NHL coach. Not only that, but Guerin gave his team the riot act prior to that trip to Sweden, saying that it was up to them to get themselves out of the funk that they were in, and that Evason specifically couldn't go out and play for them.
You know what? When we made a coaching change and I gave Dean the opportunity to be the interim coach, I had fully planned on doing like a regular search, a big search. And as I got to know Dean, I just really like his personality. I like his intensity, but I also like his, I guess his flexibility as well. Like he's not so rigid on the guys. He understands. He played. He just wants to help these guys too. And I just like I liked his way, like the way he did things. And he wasn't afraid to play young players, give guys opportunity. If guys, made a mistake or screwed up, he'd put them right back on the ice and stay with them to keep their confidence going. Things like that. So I think Dean's a really good coach.
Now, fast forward 10 days, the Wild have lost 7 games in a row. They've sputtered and spun to the bottom of the Western Conference standings. And with still so much season to play, and not only that, a wide open wild card race in the Western Conference, Guerin and the Minnesota Wild thought time was of the essence to make this move. And it makes sense that it's John Hynes. John Hynes and Bill Guerin go back a long ways to when Guerin himself was the assistant GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins and GM of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, where, yes, John Hynes was the coach. His top advisor in Minnesota is former GM Ray Shero, who of course hired Hynes in Pittsburgh, then brought him to New Jersey with him. And now this is a third destination for John Hynes that's connected to Bill Guerin and Ray Shero. So clearly a lot of trust there. But the big question is, can John Hynes get the Minnesota Wild to reverse some of their problems that have been quite glaring in this early season to this point? Specifically, the penalty kill. Assistant coach Bob Woods was also fired on Monday in addition to Dean Evason, and Woods was in charge of that 32nd ranked dead last penalty kill that had been successfully killing penalties at just a 67% clip so far. Hard to imagine a penalty kill unit playing worse. And one of the key things that Bill Guerin talked about in our conversation on Frankly Speaking, which you can also find on the Daily Faceoff YouTube page, was the idea that the big issue for Minnesota this year after back-to-back 100 points years was compete and effort. And you consider that, and that seems to be a surprise to me on a Dean Evason team. Feels like Dean Evason's middle name was intensity. And he certainly got a lot out of the Wild, even though they lost in the playoffs in the first round in 4 consecutive years and had a series lead in all 4 of those years. That playoff loss was certainly deflating, but it's hard to explain the carryover to this year and why the Minnesota Wild have struggled so mightily. Plenty of runway left in the season for John Hynes to come in and get this team moving in the right direction. Just been a real tough year for some inexplicable starts for some of these head coaches. Jay Woodcroft fired in Edmonton with a .643 points percentage, while Dean Evason was right behind him at .639. If you like this video, hit the like button and also subscribe for more on our Daily Faceoff YouTube page.